Minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition, engine full power, and go! Falcon 9 and SES 03B mPOWER.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Vehicle's pitching downrange.
Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off of Pad 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, carrying the O3B mPOWER payloads. During ascent, we tilt the engines, technically called gimbling, and this turns the rocket horizontally in what we call a gravity turn.
Supersonic.
You heard that call out that the vehicle is now supersonic, and we will be throttling the engines down in preparation for max Q, or maximum aerodynamic pressure, in just a couple seconds.
Max Q.
Now we pass through max Q, and the rocket typically needs to go 17,500 miles per hour horizontally in order to avoid being pulled back down to Earth. You heard the call out that MVAC engine chill has begun. Now this is in preparation for 3 events coming up in quick succession, which is main engine cutoff, stage separation, and second engine startup 1. So these 3 events will all be happening in about 30 seconds here, starting with main engine cutoff of those first stage engines that you can see on your screen right now.
Stage 1 throttling down. And Miko.
Stage separation confirmed.
MVAC ignition.
And there you heard and saw those 3 events happening back to back: main engine cutoff, stage separation, and that second engine startup 1 of our second stage. You can see those grid fins on the first stage deploying as the first stage begins to make its way back down to Earth. Now the next event in just a few seconds here will be fairing separation, where the 2 halves of the fairings will separate to reveal our O3B mPOWER satellites.
Fairing separation confirmed.
There's that confirmation of fairing separation, and we will be attempting to retrieve these fairing halves again today once they fall back down to Earth using our recovery vessel, Bob. It's T plus 3 minutes and 50 seconds here into today's mission, and we are in the first of 2 planned MVAC burns for satellite deployment.
Acquisition of signal, Bermuda.
In about 2.5 minutes here at T plus 6 minutes and 30 seconds, you should see on your screen the first stage's entry burn. Now for this entry burn, we relight 3 of the M1D engines, starting with the center E9 engine, followed shortly by the E1 and E5 engines, which are all in a row. And this entry burn will slow the vehicle as it passes down into the Earth's atmosphere. beautiful views from the first and second stages on your screen.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
There's the start of the first stage entry burn.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
That was a good entry burn from the first stage. Again, reusability is key to lowering the cost of spaceflight, which enables more investments in things like critical scientific research.
And Seco.
There was confirmation of second engine cutoff.
Nominal parking orbit insertion.
And a nominal orbital insertion.
Stage 1 landing burn.
There is the start of our stage 1 landing burn, and you can see that drone ship coming in quick.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing control.
What an awesome view of that first stage recovery. Everyone's very excited here in Hawthorne. And there you have it. That landing marks SpaceX's 188th recovery of an orbital class rocket, including first stage landings of Falcon 9 and Heavy. But the mission isn't over just yet. The second stage is now embarking on its first coast phase. Now, after this coast phase, we will light that MVAC engine for a second time around the T plus 27-minute mark. So we'll see you back here in about 17 minutes. Welcome back to the webcast of the Falcon 9 mission carrying the O3B mPOWER satellites for our customer, SES. Falcon 9 launched on time at 6:12 p.m. Eastern Time from Space Launch Complex 40. In addition to an on-time liftoff, we had successful main engine cutoff, stage separation, and the first of 3 burns of the second stage, fairing separation, and a successful first stage landing, which marked our 188th recovery of an orbital class booster and the second landing for this particular first stage. Now we're coming up on our second relight and shutdown of our MVAC engine at T plus 27 minutes and 10 seconds. So in just about 10 seconds, we will do a short 30-second relight in our second engine startup too. There you can see second engine startup 2. And this burn is planned to last about 30 seconds. There is second engine cut off too. We'll wait to hear confirmation of a good orbit from the teams.
Nominal transfer orbit insertion.
There is that confirmation of a good orbit. We have one more second stage burn before the deployments of our O3B mPOWER payloads and satellites. The third and final burn of our second stage should occur in about 80 minutes from now. So until then, enjoy these views of space, and we'll see you again then. Welcome back to the webcast for O3B mPOWER. So far in the mission, we had an on-time liftoff at 6:12 p.m. Eastern Time, followed by successful ascent, stage separation, first stage landing, and 2 second stage engine burns. We're now coming up on the third and final second stage engine burn before the 2 payload deployments. Should be happening in just a few seconds. There is the start of that burn. And this is a quick burn and should last around 30 seconds. There was second engine shut off there for the third time. Now we were waiting on confirmation of a good orbit from the teams.
Nominal mission orbit insertion.
There is that confirmation of nominal orbital insertion, and as a reminder, the O3B satellites are still attached to Falcon 9's second stage. The first payload deployment will occur in about 3 minutes from now. Now, as mentioned previously, our customer today is SES. SES's O3B mPOWER communication system comprises an initial constellation of 11 high throughput and low latency satellites, as well as an extensive ground infrastructure. The O3B mPOWER satellites were collaboratively designed by SES and Boeing, and these satellites are SES's second generation MEO system that has been delivering high-performance communication services since 2014 to customers operating in nearly 50 countries today. Now, the spacecraft deploying today will operate from medium Earth orbit, which is MEO, at 8,000 kilometers from the Earth's surface. Now, as mentioned previously, today's launch is the second of the 5 O3B mPOWER launches, with service introduction scheduled for later this year. Now we're coming up on the first of 2 payload deployments at T plus 1 hour, 53 minutes and 19 seconds, so a little over a minute from now. And you can see the second stage MVAC engine there on your screen. It is still carrying the 2 O3B mPOWER satellites. You can see a view of the payload adapter there. We are less than a minute from the first of the 2 satellite deployments. It's worth noting that we previously launched 2 O3B mPOWER satellites in December of last year, so this launch will mark the 3rd and 4th satellites of the O3B mPOWER satellite constellation. Everything is continuing to look good on the second stage, and the payloads were a little less than 20 seconds from that first deployment.
First payload separation confirmed.
You heard that call out with the confirmation of a successful deployment of that first satellite. Now with that confirmation, we do have one more major milestone left in our mission, and that's the deployment of the second and final spacecraft for SES O3B mPOWER. The second deployment is scheduled to happen in about 6 minutes from now. So in the meanwhile, enjoy the space views once again, and we'll see you here very shortly.
Another
Hello again. We're nearing the end of our mission today for our customer SES. Now, although we didn't get any
signal, Kodiak.
we didn't get any views of the first satellite deployment about 6 minutes ago, we did get good confirmation. We are awaiting the second deployment of the second satellite happening in just a few seconds here. Now, much like that first spacecraft, it's likely we won't get views from the second stage
mPOWER
video.
second deploy confirmed.
But as you just heard, we did get confirmation via telemetry that we did have a successful deployment of that second satellite. Now, with confirmation of that successful deployment, that will end our coverage of the O3B mPOWER mission. All of us here at SpaceX want to give a big thank you to our customer SES for entrusting us with today's mission. We also want to give a shout out to the Range and the Federal Aviation Administration for supporting today's launch. This launch concludes our 226th overall SpaceX mission to date and our second launch of the week. Now, if you're down for more excitement, Falcon Heavy is actually getting ready to launch in just a few minutes here at the neighboring pad in pad 39A down in Florida. The webcast is already live, so you can hop over there and watch that. But as always, thanks again for tuning in, and we will see you next time.